Two Geeks, Two Beers, episode 83, The Rocketeer.
An innocent discovery.
I wouldn't touch that if I were you.
A powerful weapon.
I want that rocket.
A deadly conspiracy.
They're working for a Nazi agent.
An extraordinary adventure.
Jenny's in trouble.
We've got the girl.
Here he comes!
The rocket will come to us.
We're only gonna get one pass again!
Rocketeer.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Two Geeks, Two Beers, our first of 2021. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. It's a simple enough format to get to grips with. We get drunk and talk about 80s and 90s pop culture. And that is pretty much it. I'm Morgan, and I'm joined as ever by my compatriot in all things cult. It's Tom.
Hello.
So before we kick off, we wanted to give a quick shout out to some fans who sent us some lovely messages over the festive period, either on Twitter or Facebook at 2geekscast on both of those, or via email, podcast@twogeeks2beers.com. So thank you to Lee Bragg, Stu McKay, Howard Pearrett, and David Petchy. It really does mean the world when we hear from a listener. So thank you all for listening, for your ongoing support, and don't forget to leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. And we hope that you enjoy what we've got coming up in 2021.
Yeah,
so with 2020 finally behind us, let's strap in as we jet into the new year with a rambling retrospective on 1991's The Rocketeer. Now, Tom, do those two words set off even a flicker of recognition for you?
No. Well, this is the thing. Oh, firstly, Happy New Year. I didn't actually say that a second.
Happy New Year.
Well, when you first suggested this, I have to admit, yet again, as is tradition, I say I'm a geek, but apparently I've not heard of a thing we're talking about. And I pictured in my mind, for some reason, what's his name? You know, from Looney Tunes, the Martian. What's his name?
Marvin the Martian.
Marvin the Martian. I was picturing that kind of, right, it's a cross between him and the kid from the Ricicles cereals. Do you remember Ricicles?
Yeah. It was exactly what you mean.
Some sort of cartoon character with a helmet on going to space. I thought it was that kind of thing. For some reason, I had in my mind that that's what the Rocketeer was. And I was like, all right, if he wants to do an episode on the Rocketeer, we'll let him do an episode on the Rocketeer.
Captain Rick here. Guess what? Ricicles have now got super duper hyper-galactic space-shaped marshmallow pieces in them. Kellogg's Ricicles, part of your complete cosmic breakfast.
And then I looked it up earlier today. I was like, oh, it's totally not what I thought it was. And this sounds incredible. Why have I never heard of it, let alone, I've never seen it, let alone heard of it? Because this sounds amazing. So I'm looking forward to you teaching me all about it.
I mean, your idea sounds great too.
Maybe we could do a future episode on Ricicles.
The Ricicles kid. Maybe that'll be a Patreon-only exclusive. So, The Rocketeer. This film was a favourite of mine as a child. It seemed to get fairly frequent airings on television back in the day. It's what I'd call a bank holiday Monday classic. And I revisited it recently on Disney Plus, where it's now streaming. So it was released on the 21st of June, 1991 by Walt Disney Pictures. So we would have been about 4 or 5 at the time, but about 7 or 9 when it first aired on TV, which is the perfect age to experience this film for the first time. And the film runs to an economical 108 minutes.
So we've spoken about this before. If you watch a film as a kid and then you watch it again, you'd love it for the rest of your life. Whereas if you watched it, if you're like me, then I watched it for the first time now, will it be a bit like, or would I still enjoy it?
Do you know what? I don't know if it would bite into your history in quite the same way. I feel like it might lightly nibble on your history if you were to watch it now. But obviously these sorts of films have more of an impact if you watch them when you're a kid.
Yeah, but I really like that Disney Plus is actually making an effort and putting films like this on when they didn't need to. They're going back in their back catalogue and going, oh yeah, we still got this. Still got this in the back cupboard. Should we put this on there as well? Yeah, go on then. Someone will watch it. Yeah. Fuck it.
Everyone else is praising Disney Plus for their innovative original programming, like The Mandalorian. But we're like, yeah, good. I'm glad to see The Rocketeer is on there. No one else is saying that. So, in the film, set in 1930s LA and New York, stunt pilot Cliff Secord, played by Billy Campbell, discovers a jetpack and becomes a masked hero. Cliff's heroic deeds soon attract the attention of a number of interested parties: the FBI, the jetpack's inventor Howard Hughes, played by Terry O'Quinn.
Amazing.
And Nazi operatives who want to use the jetpack for their own nefarious ends. One such agent being Neville Sinclair, a Hollywood star and secret Nazi spy, played by Timothy Dalton. Come on!
Bloody hell. I can see why you like this film.
To some, it was the fulfillment of a dream. To others, it was an instrument of destruction. A creation that could change the course of history.
It was stolen from my factory.
Where's the package?
This is the FBI!
What do we tell the president?
Tell me exactly why this merchandise is so important to the feds.
It's a rocket.
A rocket?
What? What's the matter?
I don't know. Something under the seat.
Oh, my. What do we got here? What are you supposed to do? Is it a bomb or something? No. I wouldn't touch that if I were you. How do I look? Like a hood ornament. Stand clear. What was that? A flying
Big gopher.
I like it.
I will not rocket Eddie. Not next week, not tomorrow. Now.
Keep your eyes open for this dame.
Jenny's in trouble.
They're working for a Nazi agent.
With an army equipped with these, you could rule the world.
You touch one hair on her head, I swear I'll...
Shoot him! We've got the girl. The rocket will come to us.
I love her, Peeve.
Does she know that? She's gonna find out.
Let him have it! Hand over the rocket!
The Rocketeer.
Go get him, kid.
Yes.
Amazing.
The Rocketeer. Come on.
Throughout that trailer, I was just trying to work out what I know Billy Campbell from, and I realised it was the OC. It was
Carter from the OC.
Yeah, yeah. He still looked good. Still looked good. Anyway, carry on.
No, well, funnily enough, not the last OC connection that the Rocketeer has.
Interesting.
So the film was based on the adventures of superhero the Rocketeer, who first appeared in 1982 in comic books published by Pacific Comics. The character was devised by writer-artist Dave Stevens as a homage to the Saturday matinee serial heroes of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. The comic stories featured nods to Pulp Fiction characters like The Shadow and Doc Savage, who in the comic was the original inventor of the jetpack, but the film couldn't use the character due to rights issues. And the comic also included characters inspired by actors from the 1940s and 50s. So the villain Lothar, his appearance was based on horror movie star Rondo Hatton, and Cliff Secord's girlfriend Betty was modelled after 1950s pin-up model Betty Page. So Dave
anything
Stevens...
to do with the other famous Lothar, or just coincidence?
No, just pure coincidence. No connection to the famous Lothar from 1980s animated series Defenders of the Earth. So Dave Stevens sold the film rights to The Rocketeer in 1983, just a year after the character made its comic book debut. And Steve Miner, who was the director of Halloween H2O and Lake Placid, he purchased the film rights from Stevens, but according to Stevens, strayed too far from the original concept, and the rights reverted back. But then two writers, Paul DeMeo and Danny Bilson, began working on adapting The Rocketeer for the screen in 1985. And Dave Stevens liked that Their ideas for The Rocketeer were heartfelt and affectionate tributes to the 1930s serials with all the right dialogue and atmosphere. Now, Paul DeMeo and Danny Bilson, fascinating back catalogue of work. So they also wrote the script for the James Bond video game, Everything or Nothing.
Good. Nice.
One of our favourites.
The best one.
Yeah. Go back and listen to our James Bond video games episode if you haven't already. They also served as sort of developers and showrunners on the 90s TV series of The Flash. They also wrote the 2020 movie The Five Bloods, which was released sadly posthumously in the case of DeMeo, who passed away in February 2018. And again, going back to the OC, Danny Bilson is also the father of actress Rachel Bilson.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So,
there you go.
So he gave us both The Rocketeer and Rachel Bilson, both of which I'm big fans of.
Maybe that's how Billy Campbell got the gig in the OC.
So Bilson, that's Danny, not Rachel, is also an avid gamer. He was a consulting producer for the first Sims game and has written extensively for video game franchises, including Command and Conquer and Medal of Honor. DeMeo and Danny Bilson also wrote for comics, including for The Flash, and in 2007 wrote a mini-series for Wildstorm Comics named Red Menace with actor Adam Brody, who was, of course, at the time, dating Danny's daughter, Rachel Bilson.
Wow, there you go.
When you spotted Carter from the OC as the lead of The Rocketeer, you had no idea. Pull a thread, look what happens. So DeMeo and Bilson originally met at California State University. And now I'm going to go down a bit of a rabbit hole here, but bear with me. Because I did get distracted slightly researching this episode. But they met at California State University and started writing together. And their first script was for a film called Trancers, which came out in 1985, which is a noir tale about a time-traveling detective from the future.
Wow.
Jack Death, played by Tim Thomerson, is a Philip Marlowe-esque police detective from the 23rd century who travels to the 1980s to bring his old nemesis to justice. The film, and you know, we both love our time travel rules.
Yeah.
This film portrays a unique method of time travel. People can travel back in time by injecting themselves with a drug that allows them to take over the body of an ancestor. So it's a little bit Quantum Leap.
And was it like Crime Traveller, where they spent the first 40 minutes explaining the rules of the time travel before they actually did the time travel?
Do you know what? I did fall down a rabbit hole, but it didn't go deep enough for me to actually watch this movie.
I'm Jack Death. I'm a trooper in the 23rd century.
Jack Death, Angel City PD. May I see your stats?
What did I do?
Under Section 7 of the Penal Code, the Council authorized me to administer you a transfer suspect examination.
You can't give me a TSE without a warrant.
I got your warrant right here, pal.
Okay. I don't want any trouble.
Hold out your...
My job is hunting Trancers.
I got nothing to hide.
Finding them.
Negative.
And singeing them.
Look out!
But maybe I should, because it's absolutely freaky franchise material. There were 5 sequels made, somehow.
Who for?
the Trancers fan base. They enjoyed, to varying degrees, the sequels that were made between 1991 and 2002. It is worth saying that DeMeo and Bilson were not involved in any of the sequels. The original film, though, is certified fresh with 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. Trancers 6, however, has an audience score of just 10%. It is also the only film in the franchise not to feature original star Tim Thomerson, except in archive footage. Although, playing sort of the lead female, Academy Award winner Helen Hunt appeared in the first 3 Trancers movies. Like, you could sort of imagine that she would appear in the first one, but like...
She believed in the franchise, even though she was becoming a big star herself.
Yeah, she was like, look, I'm a big star now. I'm winning Oscars left, right, and centre, but I'm never going to turn my back on Trancers. It's where I got my star. I feel like she was already quite a big star when she did Trancers, but anyway, back to the Rocketeer. So William Deere, who was best known for directing 1987's Harry and the Hendersons.
Nice.
Yeah, Bigfoot movie. He was hired to direct and co-write The Rocketeer. According to Dave Stevens, he said, Bill sought us out. So again, another kindred spirit fell in as director and co-writer. So then Deere, Stevens, DeMeo, and Bilson, the boys, they went around pitching The Rocketeer to every movie studio in town, and everybody turned it down. No one was interested. Stevens said this was 1986, long before Batman or Dick Tracy or anything similar. In those days, no studio was interested at all in an expensive comic book movie. We got there about 3 years too early for our own good. Oh, the irony. In pitching, they also developed their original idea. They'd originally thought it would be more of a sort of independent, low-budget, black and white film, basically like a pastiche of the old movie serials, more in that style. But then they developed it into something more big budget. In developing the film, Bilson, DeMeo, and Deere, they kept the comic book's basic plot intact, but fleshed it out to include a Hollywood setting and a climactic battle against a Nazi Zeppelin, which reportedly cost $400,000 to produce.
You say Nazi like Timothy Dalton says nasty.
Well, yeah, it's very fitting. Things are about to get Nazi.
I've had a belly full of you and your cheap heroics. Hand over the rocket or I'll blow her brains all over the cabin.
No, don't give it to him, Cliff, you can't!
I have to. El Capitan! Slide it. If she moves, kill her.
Where's your stuntman now, Sinclair?
I do my own stunts.
Timothy Dalton there, chewing the scenery marvelously. So after everyone else in Hollywood had turned the film down, Walt Disney Studios eventually accepted The Rocketeer because they believed the film had big potential for merchandising. And Stevens, Bilson, DeMeo, and Deere all signed a contract to make a trilogy of Rocketeer films. However, Bilson and DeMeo suffered creative differences with Disney, causing the film to languish in development hell for several years. Apparently, Disney put Bilson and DeMeo's script through an endless series of revisions, and over 5 years, Disney fired and rehired them 3 times. DeMeo explained that Disney felt that they needed a different approach to the script, which meant bringing in someone else. But those scripts were thrown out, and we were always brought back on. Apparently, they found the studio's constant tinkering with the screenplay to be a frustrating process, as executives would have previously excised dialogue 3 months later. Scenes that had been thrown out 2 years ago were put back in. What was the point?
I was thinking, like, Disney. I thought Disney doing this kind of meddling was a relatively new thing, but clearly not. They've always been like this from quite a while.
Disney CEO Michael Eisner even wanted to change the Rocketeer's iconic helmet from the comic. Maybe he wanted something a bit more like the Ricycle Kid, but he was eventually convinced to keep the original design. According to character's creator Stevens, he said they really tried to shoehorn it into a kiddie property so they could sell toys. All they really wanted at the end of the day was the name. So Disney's meddling, the studio's meddling, forced numerous delays, which meant that William Deere eventually had to drop out as director on the project. But Joe Johnston, who was a fan of the comic book, immediately offered his services as director when he found out Disney owned the film rights, and Johnston was quickly hired. Now, Johnston, again, very interesting career. So he began his career as a concept artist and effects technician on the first Star Wars film. He then worked on its 2 sequels and Raiders of the Lost Ark, plus Willow as an associate producer. He designed the Iron Giant for the film of the same name. And as a filmmaker, he was best known for effects-driven films. So pre-Rocketeer, you had Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in 1989. After The Rocketeer, he did The Pagemaster in 1994, which I never thought we'd reference The Pagemaster 2 episodes on the trot. Well, I never thought we'd reference it at all. Definitely not 2 episodes on the trot. So he did that. He also directed Jumanji in 1995, and Jurassic Park 3 in 2001.
We can't win them all, but that was a bloody good lineup of films there.
Yeah. In 1999, he directed the biographical drama October Sky as well.
Oh, I love October Sky. Brilliant film.
Do you know what? I wasn't sure if you'd seen it or not, but I was like, that is autumny as shit. I bet Tom will love that.
Really good film.
Whimsical autumn. Of course, you love that shit.
This spring, turn your eyes to the sky and watch what happens when everything you believe in soars.
I think we got a chance.
October Sky.
Interestingly, in the late 90s, because obviously Rocketeer, a bit of a superhero vibe, in the late 90s, Johnston was attached to direct a Hulk movie, which would have been written by his Jumanji scriptwriter, Jonathan Hensley. Hensley was a writer on Die Hard with a Vengeance and Armageddon, and eventually made his directorial debut with another superhero movie, 2004's The Punisher. But Johnston dropped out of the Hulk before it got made. Well, it didn't get made. But he did eventually direct one of the earliest entries in the MCU, Captain America: The First Avenger in 2011, which I think is an underrated entry in the MCU. Personally, I love that one. Kevin Feige, president of Marvel Studios, of course, he actually cited Johnston's directorial work on October Sky and The Rocketeer as to why he was the right choice, along with his special effects work that he carried out on the original Star Wars trilogy. So, after Bilson and DeMeo did a third major rewrite, Disney finally greenlit The Rocketeer, and filming kicked off on the 19th of September 1990 and carried on until the 22nd of January 1991, with special effects sequences being provided by Lucasfilm's Industrial Light and Magic. But the production wrangles were far from over. Now,
was it quite rocky on The Rocketeer front?
Oh, there you go. There you go. That's why we pay you nothing.
You get what you paid for. Nothing.
So, should we talk about the cast? We've talked about the cast a little bit already, but let's go deep on the cast. So, as we said, in the lead role, you have Billy Campbell as Cliff Secord, the Rocketeer. According to Dave Stevens, Campbell came into the audition and just nailed it shut. He was made for it. The part was his. I like that. He didn't just nail it. He nailed it shut. Like, boom. However, Joe Johnston had to convince Disney to let him cast Billy Campbell.
Let him get on with it. Jesus Christ.
They've never even seen the film and I'm sick of you meddling.
Jenny, prepare yourself for a shock. I'm the Rocketeer.
He had to convince Disney to let him cast Billy Campbell in the lead role. Campbell has gone on to play roles in Tales of the City, the US version of The Killing, and the series Helix and Cardinal. But of course, he's best known to me and Tom for playing the philandering Carter who dared to come between Sandy and Kirsten in season 2 of The OC.
He was a dish, though. He had a good beard. Remember that?
He did. But at the time, he was best known for playing Luke Fuller on Dynasty, a character killed off in the infamous Moldovan massacre.
Could we get a way of doing like a Dynasty episode or a Dallas episode?
Coming soon to Patreon, the Dynasty special. I think we could spend, at least a mini episode's length just talking about whether it's Dynasty or Dynasty. No one seems like that show began in the 80s, and yet still no one seems to know. People just go around saying, "Oh, have you seen that reboot of Dynasty? I preferred the original Dynasty. Which is it?" Everyone's using different ones. Like no one agrees. But not only do they not agree, but they can't even no one's even acknowledged the fact that we're using 2 totally different pronunciations of this show. Like people just go around calling it different things. Anyway.
Well, also, just to prove that people actually listen to this show, if you're listening to this, definitely tweet us or email us preferably tweet so everyone can see it. I want a Dynasty / Dallas episode, and then that will convince Morgan that we should do one. Okay?
Well, to be fair, is it Knots Landing that includes an alien abduction? So that's our way in.
There you go.
That's our way in.
And you've got, is that part of the Westphal, what's his name? Tommy Westphal universe as well? Are they in that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Most things are. I thought you were going to say, tweet us to let us know how you pronounce Dynasty or Dynasty. I was like, how the fuck is that going to work? Everyone's just saying Dynasty.
Sort of thing I would have said. So
yeah. He's a few John Smiths in. So because Joe Johnston had to battle, even though Billy Campbell had nailed it shut, he hadn't just nailed it; he nailed it shut.
He closed it. He closed the door.
I don't think of it as like a coffin. It's like anyone else's hopes were like nailed shut in a coffin. Billy Campbell killed it. Maybe that's where that comes from.
He sat on the coffin. That's what he did, so no one get out.
He cremated anyone else's hopes of landing that role. But because Disney, it wasn't a surefire thing. Other actors were considered, and we always enjoy this.
All right, yeah. So Tom Cruise? You had Richard Gere. They're probably too old actually at this point. Michael J. Fox, that's a good one. He'd have been good.
No, so Kevin Costner was apparently considered for the role of Cliff. Matthew Modine.
Emilio Estevez.
Weirdly, yes.
Yes, I got one.
Yeah. Apparently, Emilio Estevez auditioned. So Costner and Modine were unavailable. So Estevez had an audition.
I can't believe I guessed that. Amazing.
Dennis Quaid was apparently up for it. I'm surprised you didn't guess this next one. Kurt Russell, who was apparently considered to play every single sci-fi plot hero at one point or another.
I feel like Billy Campbell, I might be wrong, I'm probably really wrong here, but I just feel like Billy Campbell, from what he looked like in this film, seems a lot younger than all these people that you're mentioning, but maybe not. Maybe they're the same sort of age.
Maybe Billy Campbell's just... Also, you might be thinking of Billy Campbell sort of mid-noughties, rocking a great beard, being all sexy in the OC.
Yeah, good point.
That was a long time ago. I'm not saying he looks terrible now. I don't know. Sorry, Billy. So apparently Bill Paxton, he said that he came really close to getting it. Not that close, Bill, because Billy had nailed it shut.
So right.
But Johnny Depp, he was reportedly Disney's first choice, and Vincent D'Onofrio apparently turned down the role. Now, all of those names I feel like are semi-credible, right? But now we get onto the infamous IMDb casting call of bullshit. So do you want to guess who's...
Tom Cruise, Bruce Willis, Arnie, Stallone, Richard Dreyfuss is randomly always in there. Who else? We've had Costner. I don't know. Tom Sizemore. All these random people that pop up. Go on.
None of those, funnily enough.
Wow. Okay.
But there's some names in there you think, okay, maybe I can see that, like Alec Baldwin,
Dustin Hoffman.
No, Mel Gibson, Harrison Ford, even Ron Perlman. You're like, maybe, but then it goes slightly off the rails when you get like Tom Hanks and Michael Keaton, who, let's not forget, this was probably like pre-Batman. So he had, and when he was casting Batman, everyone was like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, Beetlejuice is Batman? No, we don't want it." But Robin Williams. Now, no, it's just not true. It's just not true.
Well, I'd love to have seen it, but it's not. Yeah.
Oh, I'm the Rocketeer. Oh, that's my dreadful.
Is that your Robin Williams? It's not your best. What about James Stewart? Can he do it?
He'd be like, no, I'm the Rocketeer. I got this jetpack, and I'm flying all over the place. Yeah, it's not great, but it is better than my Robin Williams.
He sounds like mildly like shocked by something. Like...
Robin Williams being mildly shocked in the Rocketeer. This rocket is taking off.
No, you sound more like Richard Nixon.
I am not the Rocketeer. That may be the worst impression I've ever done. So apparently the reason Disney weren't happy with Billy Campbell was because they felt he wasn't a big enough name at the time. But also Campbell had a fear of flying. Not ideal.
I mean, surely that's the first thing that comes into like. So you're auditioning for a film called The Rocketeer. Okay, Rocket is in the title. So have you looked at the comics? Have you checked out what The Rocketeer is all about? Yeah, totally, yeah. And you know that the main thing he does is fly. Yeah. I can wing it, literally.
Billy, you know what the Rocketeer is, right? Yeah, it's that Ricicles kid who goes into space, right? Yeah, it'll all be special effects. It'll be fine. No, so Campbell had a fear of flying. So he was doubled for almost all of the flying sequences in traditional aircraft. But for the rocket pack sequences, a scale model was used. So Joe Johnston, he was insistent that a realistic flying rocket man be featured in the movie. So Industrial Light and Magic, they created a lifelike Cliff Secord model that was animated in stop motion for the rocket pack sequences.
Oh, wow. Nice. I like that.
I just about got through that sentence before I let out a belch. So it's like for the rocket pack sequences.
People don't realise how many burps I have to edit out when I'm putting these episodes together.
And there's quite a few you leave in.
What are you doing? Doesn't look like I'm doing it. Come on, give me a hand. No, Cliff, no. For God's sakes, we haven't tested enough. Look what you did to Lucky Lindy. Cut it out. Cut it out. I'm scared enough as it is. Okay, listen. I reworked the throttle, so just squeeze her like a gas pedal. And if you want to stop, mash down hard and then let go. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. A little luck.
How do I look?
Like a hood ornament.
I've realised what he reminds me of now.
The Ricicles kid?
Ant-Man. His suit, when he's got it all on and the helmet, he looks like Ant-Man.
There you go.
So maybe that was a homage of sorts. I mean, I'm assuming Ant-Man's costume probably looked like that in the comics as well. So everything I just said is stupid.
I assume it's pretty more homage to how Ant-Man looked in the original comics. But, moving on.
Yeah.
So 5 years after her role in Labyrinth, Jennifer Connelly played Jenny Blake, Cliff's girlfriend.
The Rocker who?
Oh, for crying out loud, haven't you read the papers?
No, I've been working all day.
But look, the name was changed from the comics Betty to avoid comparisons to Betty Page, on whom the character was originally based, with the character's profession also changed from nude model to Hollywood extra and aspiring actress.
Nude model? Why was that a thing?
Because she was based on Betty Page, who was like a pin-up model in the 50s.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I misheard you then. I thought the original character in the comics that they went out of their way to make her a nude model, and then they were. No, but I thought you were Betty Page is a real person, right?
Yeah, but the character in the comics was called Betty and was based on Betty Page, so they were like, "We'll make her a pin-up model like the real Betty Page."
Right. I've totally misheard all of that. I heard that as you saying that Jennifer Connelly was going to be the character from the comics, but they couldn't do that because the character in the comics was a nude model.
Well, yeah, that is what I said.
So the character itself was a nude model as well?
Yes.
But why couldn't they have just? Why did they have to do that?
Because they wanted a little bit of sauce on the Rocketeer steak. But
so I did hear right. Okay, fine, all right. Well,
yeah, you sort of heard right and fundamentally misunderstood at the same time. Quite an achievement. So yes, the comic book character Betty, who was Cliff's girlfriend, is based on the real Betty Page.
Okay.
Who is a pin-up model, or was a pin-up model. The character, like the real Betty Page, was also a pin-up model. However, in the film, they changed the character's name to Jenny and changed the profession from being a nude model, being a Hollywood extra and aspiring actress, because Disney wanted to make the whole thing family-friendly, like to play down the associations.
Do you know? I think it's the phrase "nude model" which makes me laugh. I don't think I've ever heard it said like that before. It just sounds really.
It was straight from Wikipedia. I read it for the articles and also for the nude models.
Nude model.
Sherilyn Fenn, Kelly Preston, Diane Lane, and Elizabeth McGovern were all considered for the role of Jenny before Jennifer Connelly was eventually cast. Connelly and Campbell, who play boyfriend and girlfriend in this movie, they actually got together in real life. And their relationship lasted 5 years before they broke up in 1996. Alan Arkin, he played Cliff's friend, the airplane mechanic, PV Peabody, and got the part after Dave Stevens' first choice, Lloyd Bridges, of airplane Hot Shots fame, turned it down. Timothy Dalton, of course, plays Neville Sinclair. The characterization of Neville Sinclair was inspired by movie star Errol Flynn, or rather by the image of Flynn that had been popularized by writer Charles Hyams' unauthorized biography of the actor. Now, this is fascinating. So, he says, bigging himself up. So in 1980, Charles Hyam wrote a highly controversial biography, Errol Flynn, The Untold Story, in which he alleged that Flynn was a fascist sympathizer who spied for the Nazis, both before and during the Second World War. The film's Neville Sinclair is, like Hyam's version of Flynn, a movie star known for his work in swashbuckler roles and who is secretly a Nazi spy. Hyam's claims have since been disputed by other biographers, and Flynn's daughters even sued him in sued. Is
it similar to a nude model?
Yeah. Errol Flynn's daughters filed a lawsuit in 1981, but this suit was dismissed since you cannot libel the dead. The part of Neville Sinclair was offered to Jeremy Irons and Charles Dance, so they were really going for like a classic baddie, before Timothy Dalton accepted the role and made it his own.
And this was only just after Bond as well, wasn't it? So
he was still technically Bond at this point. Yeah.
What? Kill me as I stand? I thought you were a sporting man.
True. I'd hate to stain my legend on a villain such as you.
Prepare to die that we may learn the identity of the Laughing Bandit.
Why wait?
Good heaven, it's original.
None other.
Oh, my prince, would that you drink of my lips as deeply?
Cut! Back to first position.
Sort of channeling, Errol Flynn and Inigo Montoya, and all those images.
I would happily watch that movie, The Laughing Bandit. Make it now. The gangster character Eddie Valentine, was written with Joe Pesci in mind. He turned down the part, which eventually went to Paul Sorvino. And as mentioned, Terry O'Quinn plays real-life figure Howard Hughes. Would you like to see a bit more of Terry?
Of course I would.
Where's my rocket pack, Secord? You gotta let me use it one more time.
I'm tired of square dancing with you, kid. I could slap you with grand theft, treason, espionage, and that's just my short list. Willie, give me the cuffs.
No, look, they got my girl.
Oh, God, Cliff, no.
Yeah, they set up a rendezvous. They want to swap Jenny for the rocket.
Look, kid, I understand how you feel, but you've got to let us handle this.
I got to go alone or they're going to kill her. I'll give your rocket back. Tomorrow, I swear.
Hey, this ain't negotiation. Those guys are playing for keeps.
I can handle Valentine.
The Valentine gang has only hired muscle. They're working for a Nazi agent. Someone we think is highly placed in Hollywood society. Someone our intrepid G-men have been unable to identify.
It's Neville Sinclair.
What?
It's Neville Sinclair.
Come on.
Yeah, sure, it makes perfect sense. That's why he was bossing Eddie's men around at the South Seas Club. That's why he has Jenny.
Nice try, kid. We're taking them downtown and we're locking them up.
We'll take it from here, Mr. Hughes. Let's go, kid.
Hey!
So, it just occurred to me that I promise I have seen this movie. More I've been mispronouncing the lead character's surname the whole time. I've been pronouncing it like record, but it's actually Secord. But I hope you've enjoyed my pronunciations of nude and lawsuit.
And Nazi as well.
Nothing wrong with Nazi.
I say Nazi.
It's not the National Socialist Party.
That is true. Yeah.
And rounding off the cast, Rocketeer creator Dave Stevens had a cameo as the German test pilot who was killed when the Nazis' version of a rocket jetpack explodes during its takeoff sequence. Stevens apparently allied himself with the film's director Joe Johnston and production manager Ian Bryce in an effort to be as heavily involved in the production process as possible to try and secure as much artistic control as he could from Disney. Disney were not enthusiastic with Stevens' level of involvement. The film was hit with production issues, so it ended up going 50 days over schedule due to weather and mechanical problems. The original production budget was set at $25 million, but rose to $35 million, though apparently this wasn't because of production delays. It was because Disney were so impressed with the first dailies that they just threw another $10 million at the Rocketeer. The film finally made it to theaters in 1991, and to promote the Rocketeer, Disney went big. They paid for tie-in endorsements with Pizza Hut and M&M's. There were computer games, toys, trading cards, clothes, tie-in books. It was a big deal. They also spent a further $19 million on TV advertising alone. And a television special documentary, The Rocketeer, Excitement in the Air, was broadcast on the Disney Channel in June 1991. Despite Disney's efforts, the film underperformed at the box office.
I was going to say, I feel like it hasn't really had that much of a legacy. I feel like it hasn't really, stood the test of time. Not just because I haven't heard of it, but but
it's got Terry O'Quinn and Timothy Dalton, and they've both got brilliant mustaches. Like, what more do you need?
What do you need?
So it opened at number 4 in the box office in its opening weekend, behind Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, City Slickers, and Dying Young.
And what?
Yeah, I've not even heard of that third one.
Which one was it?
Dying Young.
Oh, I thought it said Diane Young, like the Vampire Weekend song. Weird.
So. Yeah, weird. It's almost like that song title's a pun. You're not just learning about the Rocketeer. You're learning so much.
Oh, what idiot.
Oh, baby, right on time. So Disney relaunched promotion of the film in an attempt to bolster its box office receipts. So they replaced the original Art Deco style teaser, which is very nice to look at, but doesn't really tell you a great deal about the film or who's in it. They replaced it with the new poster, which featured the film's stars, Billy Campbell, Jennifer Connelly, and Timothy Dalton, who, as we touched on, was still technically James Bond at this point. It didn't work. And at the US box office, at least, the film made just $46.7 million on an estimated budget of between 35 and 40 million. so it really did not make a lot of money. However, and again, always makes me feel slightly queasy to say this, but it received mostly positive reviews from critics. Rolling Stone called it one of the best films of the summer, and Ebert liked it. He was a big fan.
Can I just say, just going back to Dying Young, I looked up. Guess who starred in Dying Young?
Don't know.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Right, so Vincent D'Onofrio turned down The Rocketeer to star in Dying Young, which actually was the better move. He was like, I'm not even gonna do a Vincent D'Onofrio impression. I don't know. Even if I got it right, even if I nailed a Vincent D'Onofrio impression, it'd be like such a niche. Everyone would be like, that is a great Vincent D'Onofrio that you do.
In case you're wondering, it's a romantic film starring Julia Roberts, and it has the main theme tune performed by Kenny G. So there you go.
Was the Vampire Weekend song a cover of the Kenny G track?
I'm going to say yes, because that's amazing.
Julia Roberts. Campbell Scott. In a Joel Schumacher film. Dying Young.
I love you.
Most people live a lifetime and never love like this.
Well, on Rotten Tomatoes, Dying Young only has 23%, so I think Rocketeer overall won that war. It lost the battle, but it won the war.
Can you stream Dying Young right now on Disney Plus? No, you can't. So, did Roger Ebert like it? I don't know. I can't be bothered to look it up.
It says here, Roger Ebert gave the film 2 out of 4. There you go.
There you go. There you go. Ebert was a fan of The Rocketeer, not so much of Dying Young. But despite those positive reviews, The Rocketeer bombed at the box office. Is it some kind of bomb? Yes, it turns out it is. But the film later proved popular on home video and has gone on to develop a cult following. Hey, there you go. That's why we're talking about it. Dave Stevens, he later said that despite Disney's meddling, he was satisfied with 70% of the final film and highly praised Joe Johnston's direction. He said the overall spirit and sweetness of the series is still there, intact. We lost some good character stuff in editing for time, but the tone of it is still what I was trying to project in the comic pages. As I mentioned earlier, there were plans for a Rocketeer trilogy. Disney had apparently seen the budding franchise as a potential successor to the Indiana Jones movies. That kind of like period setting and a swashbuckling feel. Both Billy Campbell and Jennifer Connelly were contracted for sequels. So he was contracted for 2. She was contracted for 1 more movie. But plans for sequels were, of course, abandoned after the film was a disappointment at the box office. In 2008, Billy Campbell told MTV News, I have no idea why MTV News was asking Billy Campbell about The Rocketeer in 2008, but great.
Sounds like something we would have done if we had Billy Campbell in front of us. Like, should we ask for The Rocketeer? Yeah, fuck it.
How can I segue from this interview about the show Helix? How can I work in a question about The Rocketeer? This is what me and Tom spent much of our early career trying to work out those kind of questions. So Billy Campbell told MTV News the movie didn't make as much money as Disney had hoped, and that coupled with the acrimonious relationship that the director and the studio had contributed to them not even considering it. We're not even going to consider it. However, in 2012, Disney was reported to be developing a remake of The Rocketeer with James Wan, probably best known for creating the Saw franchise and also lingering sort of rather too much on women's behinds when he directed Fast and Furious 7.
I was like, oh god, that went a bit dark all of a sudden. I didn't know there was an allegation against James Wan. Yeah.
It's not an allegation, it's a fact. There's a lot of weird lingering butt shots in Fast and Furious 7, 8, I have no idea.
All
the
of
one
them.
That all of them, but especially the one that James Wan directed. This is libelous. Cut it all out. So anyway, so talk of a Rocketeer remake went quiet, but then in 2016, new reports emerged of a sequel / reboot called The Rocketeers, being developed by Disney. It would apparently take place 6 years after the original film, with a black female pilot in the lead role. The film's plot would see the lead take on the mantle of the Rocketeer after Cliff Secord went missing while fighting the Nazis. The new Rocketeer goes on a mission to stop a corrupt scientist from stealing jetpack technology and shifting the balance of the Cold War. Then in early 2020, reports emerged that the film was still in development and that it would premiere at some point on Disney+. But it remains to be seen if it will ever materialize. But apparently still in the works.
Surely Billy Campbell will have a cameo in that, surely.
Well, there has already been a Rocketeer sequel of sorts. Even though this live action sequel is in development, there has been a sequel of sorts. So in November 2019, 28 years after the film's release, who is it for? A Rocketeer animated series launched on Disney Channel and Disney Junior. It's aimed at a younger audience, so just bear that in mind. Okay. But it sees Cliff's great-granddaughter, Catherine Kit Secord, become the new Rocketeer.
What, and fighting the Nazis in a kids' cartoon series?
No, because she's his great-granddaughter. So
I see. Okay.
I don't think she's taking on, like, the Proud Boys.
Or the Boston Tea Party, whatever they're called. What are they called?
I don't know. We're not
what are they called?
Yeah, no, it's not the Boston Tea. It's just the Tea Party. It's just the Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party. My boy's wicked smart, but he's a Nazi. The Boston Tea Party.
Butch, let's go. 3, helmet on. 2, rocket pack secured. 1, avionics check. Blast off, clear to Rocketeer. Let's get to work, team. Butch, do you copy? This is so ace. There's a new hero in town. Help! Never fear, I'm the Rocketeer.
Thank you.
A high flying. I know I'm meant to be in the sky. Day saving. Hang on, sir. I've got you. Superhero Kid. Rocketeer to pilot. We have your back and your wings, too.
After seeing what you did today, I'm sure I am looking at a hero.
The Rocketeer series premiere Friday, November 8th at 11 over on Disney Channel.
Oh, dear. I mean, I know we're not exactly the target audience.
It's not for us.
But I feel like of all the things that diehard fans of the Rocketeer had hoped for, one day they'd get some sort of follow-up. I feel like this was the last thing on their minds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's not for us. It's not for middle-aged man children, is it?
I feel like there's a reason why comments are turned off on that YouTube video. Is what I'm saying.
But it is a sequel to the film.
Why bother doing that? It's stupid making it a sequel. That's what people get annoyed at. Make it a nice, silly little thing for kids, but don't make it like it's official canon with the 1991. Of course, it isn't.
But it is. Oh yeah, make a nice little silly thing for kids, but don't touch our don't touch our precious movie about a man flying around with a jetpack.
No, but I like the idea.
That's real cinema.
But I like the idea that you've got to consider those two different, completely different tonal projects in the same universe. You've got to sort of say that quite, it's silly, but it's quite dark in its own way, fighting the Nazis and all that. And then you got this. The ultimate kiddie cartoon CGI crap over here, and you go, oh yeah, it's the same universe. It's a direct sequel. Oh yeah. You've got to sit down and watch both of them one after the other.
So, Billy Campbell.
I love it when you just sort of, move on from that rant.
I don't know what clips you were watching where you're like, yeah, it's dark in its own way.
He shot a Nazi off the roof and pushed him off. That's pretty dark. You're not going to get that in that cartoon, are you?
Yeah, but did you hear the accent he was using while he did it? You didn't see the scenes that were excised from that trailer, just the brutal massacre of the Boston Tea Party that occurs in this animated series. So Billy Campbell does appear in the Rocketeer animated series, voicing. Before you were like, I can't. They got to have Billy in there. And you're like, why, Billy? Why?
It's totally pointless. It's totally pointless.
Not like this.
Who's it for? Because
Like
the fans of the original won't want to watch this. It's not for them, and the kids that are watching this won't know or care about the original. So what's the point of getting Billy Campbell back?
So that we can talk about it right now. So Billy Campbell.
I just like the idea that there's some eight-year-old kid watching it going, oh my god, it's Billy Campbell! It's the voice of Billy Campbell from the 1991 film. They won't give a shit.
So Billy Campbell appears in this series pointlessly. He appears voicing Dave Secord, who is Kit's father and Cliff's grandson. So he plays his original character's grandson. But he also reprised his original role of Cliff in a newsreel seen in the first episode.
First flight.
Don't adjust your glasses, folks. You're actually seeing a man fly without a plane. Meet Hughesville's superhero, the Rocketeer. Help! Help! Famous for his high-flying heroics. This helmeted hero always makes time to help those in need.
Never fear, I'm the Rocketeer!
But you drooled on the Rocketeer. Dad says he was the best flyer ever. Hey, listen. That's a Travel Air D4D biplane. You can tell by the noise it makes. See? I bet it's here for the air show.
Morning, kid. Hurry, there's something I want to show you.
Coming, Dad. It's skywriting a message. Happy birthday, Kit!
Happy birthday, kitten.
Thanks, Dad. I just woke up and this day is already amazing.
Mom's got your other present. Here's a hint. It's something you've always wanted to do.
Something like flying planes?
Better go see Mom. She's at work.
Okay, bye, Dad. Come on, Butch. Who wants asparagus?
So the Rocketeer animated series aired 22 episodes up until July 2020. And while rumours did surface that the show had been cancelled, the show's fate hasn't actually been confirmed one way or another. And it was nominated for 5 awards at the Daytime Emmy Awards in 2019. They were obviously just, so impressed by the way in which it referenced a 3-decade-old movie with such consistency. They were like, wow, we really love how much they dedicated themselves to referencing a 3-decade-old movie in this.
It just seems very pointless. All right.
So that's it. If you haven't ever seen The Rocketeer, I thoroughly recommend it. It is a fantastic standalone adventure movie, fun for all the family, and it's fascinating to consider, I think, what might have been if the film had performed better at the box office. The Rocketeer could have been one of the great movie franchises. It had all the ingredients, but it just didn't quite click. Tom, thoughts on The Rocketeer now that you no longer think it's The Adventures of the Bicycle Kid?
Yeah, I think it looks like a lot of fun. I feel like it was probably just a bit too late. I feel like by 91, it just seems already a little bit outdated for that kind of adventure. I know you talk about Indiana Jones and stuff, but I feel like it feels like a film that should have come out in like 1984, sort of around the sort of time of like Last Starfighter and all those sort of adventure-y type stuff. I know it's not, it's sci-fi. It's not like it's set in the future or anything. But
it's not about a boy who becomes an astronaut.
No, but I feel like it's very much an 80s, mid-80s like sci-fi adventure, isn't it? And I feel like it might have I feel like by 91, maybe the sort of kids that would have liked it in the mid-80s weren't really, we were all loving like Bill and Ted and Wayne's World at that point. It wasn't really the sort of thing they wanted, but oh well.
No, I agree. I think the fact that it was in development from the mid-'80s, and then because it was stuck in development hell, it took so long to materialize. It feels like a product of the mid-'80s. By the time it came out in sort of the early '90s, maybe it was a little bit outdated. But I still love it as a throwback to those kind of 30s, 40s, 50s serials. Just good-hearted, old-fashioned frolics and fun. Really
Cereals, you say? Sort of like Ricicles.
Not that kind of cereal.
But weirdly though, because it's set in the 30s, you could remake it now or have a sequel now, and it would be fine. It's not like it was set in the 90s, so it would be good for that reason.
Well, because it's now 30 years on. If you were to make a live action sequel now, I know they were talking about 6 years later, but you could do it. You could do the time jump in real time and set it in the
60s,
and then be like Rocketeer in the swinging 60s going up against, have a Cold War James Bond vibe. Like, that could be quite cool.
Yeah.
So that is it. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoy the sound of two men suffering from Arrested Development and very soon liver failure, then there's lots more at 2geeks2beers.com. Hours of the stuff. We're also on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, Global Player, and all other good podcast outlets. Make it your New Year's resolution to subscribe and leave us a lovely review.
And please do follow us as ever on all our social channels, which is at 2geekscast on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You'll get lots of our general ramblings and latest stuff we'll post on there. But also we're on Patreon. If you go over there and search for 2geekscast as well, you'll get, if you sign up and give us a little bit of dosh, you'll get some exclusive goodies, stuff you can only get there, and we're going to be upping the ante in 2021 and recording special mini-sodes essentially the same time we're recording an episode. So there's always going to be bonus material you can only get there. So please do support us on there.
And you can also find us on YouTube. Just put 2 Geeks, 2 Beers into the search bar and you'll find episodes old and new in full, plus clips and samplers. You can also email us, podcast@2geeks2beers.com, and send us thoughts, feedback, suggestions for future episodes. We promise we'll read all your messages, even if our 3-hour magnum opus about the Trancers franchise wins us awards and sees us finally break into the big time. So, to play us out, the music for The Rocketeer was composed and conducted by the late, great James Horner, and is often hailed as one of the film's stronger elements. And it included 2 songs performed by the actress and singer Melora Hardin, Jan from the US Office, who appeared in the film as a club singer. So, to play us out, here is Melora Hardin with Begin with Gwyn.
Amazing.
I think I pronounced that right, but based on my track record this episode, probably not. Face it.
Well, if it's the same song, it's originally by Julio Iglesias of Enrique Father fame. So let's enjoy this now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Nice.
Yeah. So there you go. And I apologise if you can hear any background noise at the moment, listener. I know we swill beer throughout, but now Tom's just started eating. He's just started eating in the middle of like the utter disregard for the process. He's just started like I'm hosting this episode, and he's just started fucking like chewing on some Quality Street, like.
No, I had a bag of wine gums looking at me this entire thing. I only had like 4 left, and I was like, right, I've got to eat them. They're right there. I'll do it in this next clip. And then, Yeah, I thought I got away with it, and I realised you could probably hear everything I'm saying because I've got a nice microphone now. So, yeah, picks that up.
So, the